how I built my own golf simulator for less than £2,800 and how you can do the exact same thing yourself. In this video, we're going to cover all of the costs associated with the build, and we'll cover all the parts and where I purchased them from, so to make that a little bit easier for you and so that you can go and build a setup just like this for a budget of £2,800. Now, all the prices in this video are correct at a time of purchase, and obviously things do change, some for the good and some for the bad, but you should be able to build a setup just like this for that budget. So if this video brings you any value while you're watching it, then please do think about hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell. Also, why not drop a like and comment of any information that you want to know further about golf simulators. So then, let's go. So when you're building a golf simulator, the first thing you're going to need is a launch monitor. Now this is the Square Golf launch monitor, and I highly rate this bit of kit. It's incredibly accurate and up there with the big boys in the market, but on a smaller budget. The Square Golf has its own native software that has free use of the driving range, the putting practice and the closest to the pin, with incredibly good ball data and club data. Also, on that native software, it has 12 golf courses, soon to be up to 20 golf courses, and you can play them for around about £20 a year on an average use. You can also run the native software on pretty much most mobile devices, such as iPads and laptops. You don't need a specific gaming PC for it. But if you want to play some of the greatest golf courses in the world and play with friends all over the world, then you're going to need GSPro. And this connects seamlessly to GSPro. And for only £664 from Clark's Golf, it's an absolute steal. So for a much more real feel in your golf simulator, you're going to want putting turf. Now this is putting turf from Artificial Grass Central, and it cost me £240 for 4 meters by 3 meters of this. And it's a great addition to the simulator because it just gives you that real look and that real feel when you're putting. So you've got your putting turf and it's going down. You need to make sure that you're putting some of these underneath it, and they are foam mats. And these cost me £62 from B&Q to get 12 square meters. Now these are really important because not only will they just allow some cushioning when the ball hits the floor and stop it bouncing back up, but also what they allow you to do is raise that putting turf up so that when you go to cut your hitting mat in, it ends up flush with the putting turf. The last thing you want is a raised hitting mat. When it comes to putting, it's just a little bit annoying. So make sure you get some of these. So your hitting mat, an incredibly important part of the build. And this is T-Turf from Amtech. And it cost me £308.88. And I know it sounds like a lot of money, but you don't scrimp with your hitting mat because this is going to prevent you getting injuries in your wrists and your elbows and your shoulders because of the impacts. This has a thick piece of turf on top and a nice thick base, which is going to prevent them injuries. But also, it does make it slightly unforgiving, which in my opinion is a really positive thing because you can go down the way of a range mat, but you're going to get that bounce and it becomes more forgiving. And I just think you want it with more realism. So the projector, this is the Epson EB-E20 projector, and I got it off of eBay for £137, brand new in its box on a bid. Now I would suggest checking out your second-hand sites, but I would advise that you check the lamp life usage of the projector. You don't want to be stuck with something needing a new lamp. Also, check the throw distance and the aspect ratio because it will really matter when it comes to building your sim. You can check all of that information for every projector in the market on Projector Central. So to hang your projector, you're going to want some brackets, and you can get universal ones off of Amazon for £20. So all golf simulators are going to require an impact screen. Now this is going to take the image thrown from the projector and put it on display, but it's also going to take your shots directly into it, and if you set it right, you can get the balls to hit the floor and land back where you hit them. It's a bit of an art, but it can be done. So this is probably the biggest surprise in the entire build. This cost me £59 and I bought it from Temu. Now I know what people are going to say, but this has been up here for 9 months and I've had 0 issues with it. This has about 3,000 balls hit at it per week of all varying speeds and power, and it hasn't faltered yet. I'm just as shocked as everyone else. But anyway, it comes pre-installed with eyelets all the way around to help fixing it back to the frame, and in all the way round, it's just a really good screen. So to fit your screen to the frame, you're going to need these heavy duty cable ties, £10 from Screwfix. So to build a frame for the screen to sit into, you can use all sorts of materials. You can use timber, metal, whatever you please. However, I used metal strut that looks like this because I found it the easiest way to do it, and all the fixings and the lengths I needed came to £70. So to build this enclosure cost me £178 from Wix, and all this is 5 sheets of ply and some lengths of CLS timber and the odd offcut I had laying around. But it's basically just 2 stud wet walls, nice and easy, job done. So the foam panels I have around my screen enclosure cost me £194 from Anyfoam. Yes, they have an acoustic benefit, and yes, they will stop balls from shanking off the walls and bouncing around the room. However, the most important part is they just look properly cool. So putting cups, a great addition to any golf sim, and I don't think enough people have them. So you can either raise your floor up during the build process to allow for putting cups, or you can drill them into the floor afterwards. But these are a great addition at only £8.99 for 2. They are fantastic for practicing your putting and having aligned to your hitting mat, so you have something to aim at while playing simulator golf. So a circle of light in your hitting area. The most common question I get asked about is this circle of light. Well, it's simply just a mirrorable spotlight off of Amazon, and it was around £20. See that in my description of this video. But it's a nice simple thing to put in. It looks good, and it does make it easier to see the ball during your swing. Easy. So if you want to run GSPro, the premium software, then you're going to want one of these, and it is a gaming PC. Now, my specs are here, but you can find its minimum requirements on GSPro's website. But I would suggest going a little bit above and beyond that, because the courses are getting more and more demanding on the graphics, and it's important that you don't buy a computer that just needs more adding to it later on. But this cost me £450 off of Facebook Marketplace, and you can't go wrong with a little bit of Marketplace. But I would suggest looking on eBay, Marketplace, and any other second-hand or even new builds. But certainly make sure you're slightly above them basic requirements. So as well as the PC, you're going to need monitors. Now for me, because I stream golf, I have my live chat monitor and my game monitor. So you don't need to have 2 monitors. But with this one costing me £25 from Marketplace and this one costing me £75 from Argos, a combined cost of £100 isn't bad at all. But it's worth bearing in mind, if you're trying to have the game on this screen and on that screen, you may need to buy a HDMI splitter. And that might cost you around £10 to £20. But to be able to have it on both screens, you may need to do that. It's just worth keeping in mind. So one of the most appealing things and one of the greatest things about having a golf simulator is the ability to play all of the major courses such as Sawgrass, Pebble Beach, Augusta. Well, if you want to do that and you want to play with people all over the world and you want to take part in the simulator golf tour, then you're going to need GSPro. Now GSPro is $250 for a year, but I can't think of anything else I'd rather spend $250 on than GSPro. It's a must-have if you own a golf simulator. So GSPro, $250. So lastly then, we have the cable running the internet from my house to my simulator, which is important because for GSPro, you must have a stable internet connection. So that is it. That is the end of the costs. Now, I know some people will be thinking it, but we did already have this building to put this golf sim in. So if you don't have the building or the space to do it and you have to build something, then there's also that cost to add on, which could be quite considerable. And you may need to get planning permission. Now, also, I had the tools and the know-how to do this, and I did it all myself. so I didn't pay for labour or tool hire. So again, I've saved a lot of money there. So in this cost, I also haven't allowed for accessories because they're just optional, and I haven't allowed for the finishes like the colours and stuff like that to be painted onto the timber, because ultimately that's completely down to you, and some people will just leave it bare. So did we get inside that budget of £2,800? Well, as far as the final cost, it is £2,778.99. The pennies matter. It's mind-blowing that we managed to achieve this build with that lower cost. So it's doable, guys. It's absolutely doable. If you have any further questions, guys, about golf simulators and you want to know further information, then please do drop a comment. Also, make sure you subscribe, like, etc. as well on the video. It helps the channel no end as we try and push to that 1,000 subscribers. So guys, thank you for watching all the way to the end, and we will catch you on the next one. So for now, I've been Raw Golf, you've been awesome, and I'll see you on the next one.